All right, so we haven't talked since about the referendum and about Beach Drive for a while, and I wanted to give you my thoughts on the non-binding referendum and what I saw of the Panama City Commission on Tuesday. They are still lying about Beach Drive, and the reason that I am a little excited to do this show is I think it's so important to memorialize what they're saying. Um, do you know the whole remember the whole story about Beach Drive? We haven't talked about it in a while. But the city got an $8 million grant, and they say that they are going to if you let's see if I have the non-binding referendum, and perhaps we could start with that too. I'll tell you my thoughts on it. I do. I do have it. I have some of the road history as well. I think I have it anyway. Let's see here. There's the Beach Drive proposal. There's the referendum. I do have it. So I'm going to let a few more of you jump on, and I will get right to that. So you understand that the non-binding referendum passed 53% to 47%. And of course, there was great jubilation and celebration for those who want to narrow that road and destroy scenic Beach Drive. I drove on Beach Drive today, and I didn't realize how close the water was to the road in some places, the erosion there. And they plan to put a big old sidewalk there, a multi-use path. It's important. This show is going to be important because we will look back on this show in the future. I don't think they're really going to get going on this project, actually. I think, well, I'm pretty cynical about it. I think that really the only person so far who's benefited from this is the usual suspect. And that's the engineer, Chris Forehand, who owns Panhandle Engineering, who's gotten more than $1 million on this for design, for engineering plans. And that was before the city finally fessed up that Beach Drive was not going to be, they weren't going to get it. The city is not going to get Beach Drive, it doesn't look like, from DOT. So the city pretends that it never said it needed Beach Drive. It's no big deal. We're going to get permits instead. Yeah, we won't be able to do it at 100%. But one of the big issues, as Tho Bishop told us in his article, when he talked about the same cast of characters coming up there, regurgitating the same, what did he say? Fallacious arguments, right? By doing this and highlighting what is being said now, we'll see, because as we learned in that article, that elitist article by Tho Bishop, it said the real question, the underlying question, the only question that we should ask is the city capable of doing this sidewalk for $8 million? That's the only question. They're not going to do it for $8 million. And the excuses will come. We never said it was $8 million. Yes, you did. And that's why I will not let this go, because I want to remember the people who promise you things and then lie to you. All right, as people are jumping on, let's thank a couple of sponsors, and I'm going to get right to what the referendum said, how it won, and why I think it was a win for those who don't want Beach Drive.
Strong, effective leadership. 3 words that could mean the difference between prison and your freedom. I'm Al Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
The most important part of our city is our people. It's our residents. They make the city. We are there to represent them.
Vote for Judy Tinder for Lynn Haven City Commissioner, seat 4, on or before April 22nd. All right, the non-binding referendum, let's remember what it said. Oh, why the hell I keep losing this thing? All right, here we go. Here's what it said. I thought this was this should have been a 70-30 yes vote. It absolutely should have been 70-30 in favor of the non-binding referendum because of the language, because of the dishonest language. I call it criminally fraudulent. I absolutely believe that. A lot of people know it is, but they say otherwise. The propaganda, in fact, what you're going to see city manager Jonathan Hayes say, I'll show you on the show tonight what he said 3 days ago, and his demeanor. Well, they betray him. So the referendum was to consider, listen to the wording now. There are so many false points to this referendum. They're not even true. Number one. Number two, it is so slanted. Listen, referendum to consider state-funded grant for pedestrian, stormwater, and environmental improvements on Beach Drive. Again, let me just say this before I tell you the rest. I drove on Beach Drive today. There were people enjoying the scenic Beach Drive. And they always have. So I guess the propagandists want you to believe that unless they put a gigantic concrete sidewalk on scenic Beach Drive, which I've shown you, I've walked on it, I've shown it to you. It's beautiful for people who like nature, but the planners are betters. All of our betters who say you have misinformation, and you'll hear Jonathan Hayes talk about this. It's unbelievable. They can't stand it unless it is paved over, which is going to cause more, less water is going to absorb into the soil. It's going to cause more flooding problems, not less. And they're going to be diverting more water into the bay. And the reason I'm doing this is because we will look back, as we have for at least a decade, right here on this kind of show, on the Facebook show. Some people say, Bernie, you're wrong. I say I might be. Unlike them, I don't have a monopoly on truth, but I have an allegiance to it. And so maybe this will be the first time that people can say, oh, look, Bernie was wrong. And he stayed being wrong. I've been wrong before, and I adjust. Maybe this will be the first time they'll say, ha ha, Bernie, we got you. We'll see. Maybe they're the first ones in 10 years to be able to do that. All right, let's take a look again at this, because I really believe that if this was a 70-30 or a 60-40 yes vote for Beach Drive, that would have been a real victory for them, and it would have been, unless the truth got out, and it was 53-47. That's basically a tie with language like I'm showing you here. I mean, that is basically a tie. How do I lose it again? All right, here we go. So this is what they say. Should the city of Panama City use state funding, and they even put the grant number in there, it was $8 million, to make pedestrian improvements on Beach Drive. Pedestrian improvements. Is that a fact or a promise? And to make stormwater and environmental improvements, the third time they've used the word improvements, on Beach Drive within the publicly owned right-of-way, with the understanding, look, listen to all the caveats on this thing, that these funds are restricted and cannot be used for any other purpose or location in the city. They lied about, there's so much wrong with that. Everybody knows it could be used in another location in the city. But, you know, they get away with that. But what they did not get away with was a landslide victory, a 47-53 victory for that non-binding referendum is not a victory. With all of the propaganda, with the, this will be fun, with the state, with the deep state propaganda, WMBB. Listen, I got to tell you something about this. There was this weird, when it came to Doc Rowan and his race against Alan Branch, and Alan Branch won that handily, and he will be sitting up there. I think the first time he'll be sitting up there is in about 4 weeks. I believe the next meeting will be the same. It will be Mayor Doc Rowan's last. And then I think the one after that is when Alan Branch will be taking over as mayor, and we'll see what happens on the other seat. Josh Street won handily 70-30. So that was, I was surprised about that. I knew that Demetrius Reese was the underdog, but I was extremely surprised at the 70-30. But it happened, and that means that he will have, if he can hold out, 4 more years of being held accountable, and for the promises that they're making. But 47-53, I consider that. What do you think? I'm gonna look at your comments. Do you think that's a tie or not? But what I was saying is, when it comes to Mayor Rowan and the how do I say this? It's kind of like what I say about news. If you want to know if you're watching news or propaganda, especially right here in Bay County, here's the fastest way to do it. Is WMBB and WJHJ, are they saying the same thing? Are they using the same words? If those two stations are not trying to scoop each other, you are not listening to news. You are listening to propaganda. All right? If news outlets are not trying to scoop each other, but they're repeating the same things and interviewing city officials, and basically only, and reading press releases as though it's news, you've identified propaganda. So it also holds true when you see the bigwigs in town, Jennifer Halligus, basically that whole crew you would expect. When they all start selling T-shirts, and they all start, do you remember Black Lives Matter? You remember that? You remember Lift Black Voices? What happened? The money ran out. That's what happened to that. So when you saw people post a black box in their profile picture, when's the last time you've seen that? When you see all of that happening, you know there is propaganda taking place. So when you see them putting like this, they create this silly like deep state thing. I forget what the image was. But when they all start doing the same thing, do you think that's organic, or do you think that's a top-down push to manipulate public opinion? And it didn't work real well on Beach Drive. It worked a lot better on Doc Rowan. I got to tell you, for the last 2 years, from the moment he won the election, WMBB, the propaganda machine, began the onslaught against him. And a lot of voters are older, and they watch local news, and they still believe local news. And the defamation against him from being I don't even want to say all this stuff, but you know what I'm talking about. Like when that happens for 2 straight years, yeah, it's tough to overcome that. It's really tough to overcome that. But I was on Beach Drive today, and the whole story that, you can't enjoy Beach Drive unless we put up the concrete thing. Like, you understand when they narrow this road and put this wide concrete path and whatever else they're going to do, there's no parking on that side. You've got to park you got to go into the neighborhoods and park. I've told you these things, and what we're going to do is let time tell. So everybody who makes promises today that they're going to make, I don't even want to predict this, but that they're going to make it safer pedestrian walking. If something bad happens, I will play them saying their lies over and over and over. Time is an appellate judge. Time will tell who's telling the truth. All right. So that happened. Let me show you Jonathan Hayes, city manager Jonathan Hayes, because again, remember, as we were told by our bettors, the question is, can they do this for $8 million? Jonathan Hayes was called out again by Beach Drive resident Hank Pickin. I'm going to show you a letter that Hank Pickin wrote to city manager Jonathan Hayes after the meeting on Tuesday. Look at this. It said, City Manager Hayes, you owe us an apology. This is what Hank Pickens said. Right after the meeting, he wrote this email to him. Your answers, and again, we're going to see who's telling the truth over time. Your answers to the path design expense questions this morning left the commission and the public with the impression that we were making up numbers. I'll show you when Jonathan has said that right after I read this letter. Our statement that over $1 million had been spent on path design came from the attached exhibit, which was generated by your accounting department. All these expenses have been forwarded to the FDOT for reimbursement out of the state's $8 million grant per Mr. Murphy, Clint Murphy, the project manager guy, Public Works, quarterly project status reports to FDOT. Those were their own numbers, $8 million. And the $1 million that has been spent, again, shoveled over to Chris Forehand and his company, Panhandle Engineering, even after he got immunity, federal immunity for crimes committed against Lynn Haven. The attached expense report shows. So here's Hank Pickens giving the city documents, but they just still lie to you. And no matter how much propaganda they muster up, time will tell. So it shows a total of $1 million, basically $1 million as of 3/31, March 31st of this year. Obviously, the report understates the total expenditure because the last Panhandle Engineering entry was made on September 30th of last year, and y'all claim that you've been working with FDOT for the last several months to come up with a plan that will satisfy FDOT requirements, so there are at least 7 months of unreported expenditures. The city is not reporting the expenditures over the past 7 months. The fact that many of the expenses were paid to other contractors through Panhandle Engineering and are therefore not design expenses is a spurious claim because no matter the end recipient, the expenses are still charged against the sidewalk grant. And since the project is in the design phase, there is no other category or line item to charge them to. After you have apologized to us, says Hank Pickens, we strongly suggest you update this expenditure report. Why won't they do that? Why won't they do that? To include all design costs up to today before you commit to being able to complete the path project with the remaining grant funds, which are probably somewhere close to $6.5 million. The original estimate cost was $9.4 million. Then they got a grant for $8 million. They've spent probably $1.5 million, most of it shoveled again to Chris Forehand, Panhandle Engineering, the usual suspects all the way around that. So that leaves them with $6.5 million. But they're not even counting that. They're trying not to count that now because they know they're not going to make it. They're not even going to come close to making it. So all of those who wrote the articles, all of those who make the case that the real question is, can the city make this multi-use path for $8 million? Remember those of them who say it can be done. Remember those of us who say it's not going to be done if they even do it at all. How do I know? Because this is identical to the same grant racket projects that I've been covering for a decade now. That's how I know. And because of the numbers right now. And the fact that Jonathan Hayes, what you're going to see right now, would get so animated and starts. And by the way, I'm on to what they're up to, and it's going to be ugly. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. But Jonathan Hayes wanted to say it so bad. He doesn't want people talking, and I'm going to show this to you. Here we go. This was from the meeting on Tuesday. All right, Jonathan Hayes, you can see him facing, here we go. You can see him facing, he's third to the right. And he's very animated, very passionate. Where you have next to him Commissioner Josh Street and Commissioner Brian Granger, who aren't saying a word. It's a really interesting dynamic up there. All right, let's listen to this. He's going to answer Hank Pickens' points about the costs.
Plan, and I can merge into Mr. Picken now. We will have to make some modifications to those 100% plans, because the 100% plans was done based on the.
Wow. So right off the top, we are going to have to make some modifications to the 100% plans, to which you hear Commissioner Halligus blurt out, "For sure." And then she takes a big drink of water. We're going to have to make some modifications to the 100% path that we wanted. For sure. Okay, and they're very, I think the lady doth protest too much. They're too pleading. They're too trying to convince somebody. Watch.
Original concurrence that they would transfer the road, and so we designed.
Okay, so originally we thought the original concurrence that they would transfer the road. Jonathan, they never said they would transfer the original concurrence that they would transfer the road. There was no original concurrence that they would transfer. They've always told you no. It's just that you've all been lying about it. All right, but now that we're not going to be able to do the 100%. So you're going to spend $8 million on less than 100% of the project.
Designed it to 10-foot lanes for Beach Drive. And
10-foot lanes for Beach Drive. Which Chevron about had a cow. And Chevron said, please do not do anything less than 11 feet, for God's sake. I drove on that road today, and if you go from basically the end of one lane to the end of the other lane, it's like 13 and a half feet. Imagine driving down that road, and those two lanes are not 13 and a half feet across, but they're 11 feet across. You just wait. You just wait until you see what they're going to call unintended consequences. But if you can't see them coming, and they can, they're just lying about it. But there are going to be some real consequences to it.
And then a 12-foot path all the way. Because they've now indicated that they're not going to do that. That's going to, that's going to have an impact on that. So we will have to make some design modifications.
So their original plan was 10 feet, 10 foot from one end to the other. Okay. So I'm thinking about this. It can't be from one end to the other. It's got to be just, is it one end to the other, or is it just each lane? My God. That is okay. Oh my God. So let's say it's 13 and a half feet now. Let's go. What they wanted to do was all the way to 10 feet. Chevron says we cannot possibly go less than 11 feet. So they have agreed on 11 feet. Go there. Watch cars pass each other. And you'll know who's telling the truth.
Modifications depending on the choice that FDOT makes in regards to 11 or 12 foot. We're working through that.
Ooh, I hadn't heard this before. So now DOT might be saying, no, you're not going to go less than 12 feet. But Jonathan assures everybody we're working through that.
We feel very confident that the 11-foot lanes is reasonable. We have communication from folks that use that for commerce,
that's very different too. Oh my gosh. Did you hear what he said? He didn't say that oh my God, I've done this long enough to be able to tell when they're up against it and they're up against it. Jonathan Hayes has been saying that Chevron has written us a letter and asked us for 11-foot lanes. That is such a lie. Chevron wrote a letter pleading, don't go less than 11 feet. My God, can't go less than 11 feet. But Jonathan Hayes and the commissioners have been lying and telling you that they've asked them to go down to 11 feet. Now, he didn't mention their name. He said, we've got communication from folks or from industry. But how did he word this again? But he didn't say Chevron, did he? Watch. He didn't tell that lie again. Let's hear this again.
Use that for commerce, that's the minimum they would, that they would ask and design modifications to.
He didn't say Chevron. Why didn't he say Chevron? Why didn't he tell that lie again?
Depending on the choice that FDOT makes in regards to 11 or 12 foot, we're working through that. We feel very confident that the 11-foot lanes is reasonable.
Watch, he doesn't say Chevron.
Communication from folks that use that for commerce, that's the minimum they would, that they would ask. And so that was something that we were happy to compromise on. I know that the estimate, that has been sent around. I've been copied on that going back to October. I know it's gone around multiple departments. I know we shared it with y'all. I know it's been shared with the public at least 2, if not 3 times.
But oh God, I just lost the whole damn thing. Hold on, damn it.
It says pre-design opinion of probable construction. We feel very confident that the 11-foot lanes is reasonable.
So he doesn't say Chevron. Wow. Did anybody else catch that?
Have communication from folks that use that for commerce, that's the minimum they would.
Chevron, used to say Chevron.
So that was something that we were happy to compromise on. I know that the estimate, that has been sent around. I've been copied on that going back to October. I know it's gone around multiple departments. I know we shared it with y'all. I know it's been shared with the public at least 2, if not 3 times. In there, though, is a very high contingency. We're also seeing prices come down. And I'll just say the very top of the document that Mr. Pickin referenced, it says pre-design opinion of probable construction costs. That was just a very rough estimate. Part of the
9.4 million was just a rough estimate back when things were super expensive. So Jonathan Hayes, on this date of this meeting, which was Tuesday, at 1:56 into the meeting, an hour and 56 minutes into the meeting, Jonathan has said 9.4 was just a rough thing. Yeah, we just had a number thrown out there. Things were very expensive, but costs have come down. It's not going to be 9.4 million. Bet you it'll be more. And they promised 8 million. Bet you it'll be more.
The application process, and we ended up only getting the $8 million. There's also we'll have an add alternative $1 million estimate water line. We want to put that, we want to try to loop the system to improve water pressure in between San Andreas and Panama City. And that's something that we don't have to do. And so again, we remain committed to the estimate and that we will absolutely complete this project in accordance with the funds that we have.
Put a pin in that. It's time people are held accountable for what they promise. We will absolutely complete the project with the funds we have. Jonathan Hayes. Hold him to that. But he and the propagandists down the road will say, yeah, but nobody could have foreseen X, Y, and Z. He just said it will absolutely be done with the funds, with the 8 million.
And I'll just add one more thing. We keep, and I know to some it may be semantics, but it's not.
This is where Jonathan Hayes does not want to hear it anymore, which is the reason I turned the microphone on, quite frankly. He doesn't want to hear it anymore. People should not be saying these things. Not even the people it affects the most. Listen.
Because I don't believe it's fair to our design engineers. And
it's not fair to Chris Forehand, who got federal immunity for a crime committed against Lynn Haven. It's not fair.
Ask any of the design engineers that we use for
the only person who's benefited from this, $1 million already. It's not fair. This is disgusting.
Multitude of projects. I do give them a hard time. I know Mr. Murphy gives them a hard time from side to side.
You guys don't give them a hard time. I feel like saying something so vulgar right now. Jonathan Hayes doesn't give Chris Forehand a hard time. Jonathan Hayes carries around knee pads when he talks to Chris Forehand. And everybody knows it. It's shocking how dishonest the guy is.
From time to time. But to say that we've spent over $1 million purely in design for this project is factually incorrect.
That's what the invoice states. And now he's going to say, we can't let people say that. The invoice says it's $1 million for engineering and project design stuff. And now he's going to lie and say part of that was legal. No, that's a separate line item. But he's going to say, we can't be hearing this anymore. I swear to you, I will magnify, I will find ways to magnify whatever they don't want you to say. I will find ways to magnify it.
And we need to stop saying it.
You need to stop saying it. Oh. I feel like Ed Young right now. Ed Young would lose his. I wish he was up there. Oh. But you didn't want it. You need to stop saying that. Jonathan Hayes says you need to stop saying that. I guess I'm a masochist, so let's hear it one more time.
That we have, and I'll just add one more thing. We keep, and I know to some it may be semantics, but it's not, because I don't believe it's fair to our design engineers. And you ask any of the design engineers that we use for a multitude of projects, I do give them a hard time. I know Mr. Murphy gives them a hard time from side to side, from time to time. But to say that we've spent over $1 million purely in design for this project is factually incorrect.
Unbelievable.
Were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or are you not, in fact, a chronic and habitual liar?
And we need to stop saying it. It's not fair to design engineers that are working very hard for the city of Panama City on a multitude of reasons. I don't understand why that keeps getting poked at, but that included surveys and that filtered through the design engineer firm, but it was for surveys.
It filtered through the design engineer firm. That's exactly what Hank Pickens said. It still goes against the $8 million grant. I know exactly what they're up to.
It was for environmental survey. It was for property lines. It was for legal work to ensure as this
Chris Forehand has told him to have people stop saying this about him.
Commission has been clearly committed to all along that we would only do this inside the state maintenance right-of-way or the city's platted right-of-way. It also brought in an arborist and a horticulturist to look at every single tree to help us come up with a plan. So yes, I mean, that has an impact on the design, but to say that we've paid the design engineer firm over $1 million for this is incorrect.
They've paid there's been more, $1 million, and they won't even tell us the last since September. The last figure was almost $1 million to Panhandle Engineering. Yeah, but Panhandle Engineering had to subcontract folks. It still comes out of the $8 million. I was going to call him a dummy, but he's not a dummy. He's just a liar.
Well, it's no different than we do infrastructure projects.
100% correct.
Oh, Lord. Here we go with the propaganda.
Subcontract out to everybody, but that's not and I would like to add.
And by the way, I got to say this because it's the engineer, Chris Forehand, it's like her best friend. There's a problem with that. When Panhandle Engineering gets $1 million after its history, and best friends, there's a problem. People have a problem with that. There's a problem with that. Oh, Bernie, you're out of line. This is ridiculous. It's outrageous. No, it's really not. It's not. It's reasonable.
has an impact on the design, but to say that we've paid the design engineer firm over $1 million for this is incorrect.
Well, it's no different than we do infrastructure projects.
100% correct.
They subcontract out to everybody, but that's
do.
not a.
Yeah, let me think. Maybe back when JC Contracting did that. It's no different than what we've done over the last 8 years. The one thing I will hand it to them for, and I'm not joking, their ability to go up there and say things like this over and over and over and over and over and over is remarkable. Like their stick-to-itiveness. I got a feeling, well, Jonathan Hayes gets paid nearly $200,000 a year for his stick-it-to-you-ness. Oh, no, stick-to-itiveness, not stick-it-to-you-ness. So that makes it a little easier. Plus the opportunist's ambitions for the future and the palms he has to grease. Palms. I said palms he has to grease. Stop it.
And I would like to add, when we accepted this grant years ago, it was with the idea that the city would still be responsible for about $1.5 million of the total project.
I think that was one of the.
Did you hear that? So now Jenna Halligus is saying, well, wait a minute, $8 million, that might go over $8 million. But back in the day, we said Panama City was going to pay about $1 million and 1.4 million. Let's see, 8 million plus 1.4 million. That equals 9.4 million. That's what Hank Picken's been saying. Now, Jonathan Hayes is going to try to correct her or say, don't talk about that.
Original estimates, but again, that was even before I moved back here to Panama City. I think with some of the earlier conversations.
What it was the total thing was like 9 or something like that, and they only granted, or 9.5, and they
I think we only asked for 8. That was my understanding that Mr. McQueen actually on his own said we're fine with 8.
On his own? Wait a minute. General McQueen, the former city manager, on his own asked for $8 million. Did I not tell you? Cetho Bishop says the real question is, can they do the project for $8 million? That's the only question. Now they are already saying, well, it was General McQueen who on his own, before when he was a city manager, he's the one who said $8 million. I never said $8 million. And they're already, now it's 9.5 again. If you listen to this, so when it gets up to 15 million, what are they going to say then? Unforeseen circumstances, the additions, the better improvements. Just listen to these people.
$1 million, and then that's what affected it. That's what I've been told.
That's what you've been told.
So,
by who?
Mr. Mayor, I did skip Mr. Derek Thomas, so make sure to go.
That's it. I can't. I just wanted you to see that. Why? Because as time goes on, never forget their promises. Don't ever worry about what people say. Like, like the article again. The same cast of characters regurgitate the same fallacious. We'll see who's fallacious. Never worry about what they say at the moment with all the propaganda. Just pay attention. Pay attention to what happens over time. But maybe this will be the first time. Do you remember 3 years ago when 3-4 years ago when Panama City Beach was talking about the stormwater, and they got the $21 million grant? And I said, it's going to cost you well over 30 million. Oh, liar, liar. Our experts say it's over 50 million now. North of 50 million now. I said they're going to be diverting stormwater from north of Highway 79. North of Back Beach Road. They're going to dry up the wetlands so St. Joe can develop. They're going to put it underground pipes into Low Water Lake, into the Gulf. And they called me a liar. Guess what they're doing? And guess how much it is? Maybe this will be the first time that the propagandists over time will be right. But I highly doubt it.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
I want to thank the unknown patriot for your support, and all of you who throw a tip in the tip jar as little as $5 a month at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. Crowdfunding is a big deal. It's a very big deal for independent shows like this. And thank you for those of you who are patrons. It's easy, it's anonymous, and you can quit at any time. I don't thank you guys enough. Also, tonight in just a few minutes, the newsletter, the weekly newsletter, Corruption Watch, will come out. All the shows, all the Facebook posts, bernie.substack.com. That's where it's at. All right. Thank you for being with me, and I will see you soon.